The morning after the Great Fire, Chicago stood in silence. The downtown core was gone, erased by the relentless flames. There was no financial district left. No hotels, no warehouses, no grain elevators, and no courthouses remained standing. 100,000 people huddled in the parks, clutching whatever meager belongings they had managed to save from the ash. They stared out at the lakefront, a displaced population standing amidst the ruins of their former lives. But then, something shifted. Within a single week, the paralysis of shock gave way to the momentum of survival. There was no time for formal planning, no luxury for surveying, and certainly no room for endless public debate. The city chose to act. They simply started building, driven by a collective, desperate need to reclaim their home. Lumber began to arrive by rail from the forests of Michigan and Wisconsin before the ruins had even cooled. Temporary wooden structures sprouted across the scorched earth, rising like ghosts from the soot of the burn zone. By the end of October, barely 3 weeks after the catastrophe, new businesses were already opening their doors. The sheer speed of the recovery stunned the world, drawing eyes from across the country and across the ocean. Aid began to pour into the city, a testament to the global sympathy for Chicago's sudden, tragic downfall. Cities from every corner of the map sent food, clothing, and vital building materials to support the effort. London sent thousands of books to restock the lost libraries, helping the city recover its intellectual soul. Other American cities loaded trains with cash, sending a lifeline to a city fighting to stand up again. The outpouring of support was unprecedented, and Chicago utilized every single dollar to fuel its rapid resurrection. But the city did not merely aim to replace what was lost. It made a quiet, collective decision to build better. The fire had achieved what no city planner could have dared to dream. It had cleared the slate entirely. Decades of haphazard, flammable wooden construction were wiped away, leaving behind a blank, open landscape. The tenements and ramshackle warehouses that once crowded the streets were gone, replaced by opportunity. Chicago's architects and engineers looked at that open ground and saw a vision no one had ever witnessed before. They saw the chance to forge a modern city from scratch, rising from the ashes as a permanent, fire-resistant marvel. New building codes were passed with immediate effect, mandating that the downtown core be built only in masonry. The era of wooden construction in the heart of the city was over, replaced by the permanence of brick and stone. It was a difficult, urgent transition, but the city enforced these rules with the resolve of a survivor. But the most profound transformation was not just in the materials used. It was in the concept of the buildings themselves. A new idea began to take root, one that would redefine the very nature of urban architecture forever. In 1885, an architect named Baron Jenney set out to change the skyline of LaSalle and Adams Streets. He completed the Home Insurance Building, a structure that would soon become a legend in architectural history. At 10 stories tall, it was impressive, but its true significance lay hidden beneath its exterior facade. While every building in history relied on thick, heavy masonry walls for support, Jenney dared to try something different. He utilized a steel skeleton, an internal frame of iron columns that carried the load of the entire structure. The walls were no longer load-bearing. They hung from this frame like a curtain, light and independent. It was the first true skyscraper in history, a breakthrough that shattered the limitations of traditional design. The implications of this innovation took a moment to land, but the architectural world was forever changed. If walls no longer had to carry the weight, they could be constructed from almost anything, including glass. Buildings could now reach toward the clouds, limited only by the strength of the steel that held them up. Chicago had effectively invented the modern city, creating a blueprint for the urban future of the world. The architects who followed in Jenney's footsteps understood exactly what he had unlocked for the profession. Sullivan, later known as the father of the skyscraper, began designing buildings that celebrated their own height. His structures reached upward with clear intention, tall and ornate, defining the new aesthetic of the city. Sullivan championed the idea that form should follow function, stripping away unnecessary, superficial decoration. He believed a building's beauty should emerge from its purpose, not from ornaments pasted onto its surface. Then there was Burnham, a man whose ambition matched the scale of the city he helped rebuild. Burnham thought bigger than almost anyone in history, viewing the city not just as a collection of buildings, but as a whole. He imagined a coherent, magnificent urban landscape, perfectly positioned on the edge of the great freshwater lake. His vision for Chicago was grand, aiming to create a masterpiece of planning and architectural harmony. That vision would reach its full, breathtaking expression in 1893, but the progress was already visible much earlier. By the late 1880s, less than 2 decades after the fire, the city had achieved something truly extraordinary. It had built a skyline, a jagged, proud silhouette of stone and steel rising against the horizon. This was more than just a collection of buildings. It was a statement of intent and a symbol of resilience. The structures announced to every traveler arriving by rail or water that Chicago was no longer a frontier town. It was not a boom town that had simply gotten lucky. It was a powerhouse of industry and design. This was Chicago, a city that had looked into the fire and decided to rise higher than ever before. It was poised to show the entire world exactly what it was capable of achieving in the coming years. The story of this rise is far from over, as the city prepares for its next great chapter. Episode 11 will explore the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893, the fair that changed everything for Chicago. This has been the Chicago Cipher, uncovering the stories that most people never get to hear. We are telling the story of Chicago, one episode at a time, revealing the layers of its history. Subscribe to our channel so you do not miss what comes next in this unfolding narrative.